What happened when this little girl came to school after being there 4 months as a girl and announcing that it was her parents' intention to now be a boy is the folks who were on the front line, the administrators, the bus drivers, the teachers, they had a real issue on their hands. Transgenderism is a major and controversial issue for anyone, even adults. But you know what we're dealing with here? This is a little innocent 6-year-old child. I think most child psychiatrists, most child developmental experts in the United States would agree that a little 6-year-old is not yet ready to make those types of choices. At that age, they're still trying to decide what kind of ice cream and what kind of breakfast cereal they enjoy. And their opinions about things change, not only on a daily basis, but on an hourly basis. And so to empower and indeed to inflict upon a little 6-year-old girl the heavy decision of their sexual identity is nothing short of child abuse. I'm proud to say that Madeline Kirksey and Akeisha Wyatt stood up, not only based on their own faith, their religious convictions, but they stood up for this little girl. And they said, not so fast. What you're suggesting that we do so suddenly without any explanation is going to in fact hurt this little girl. It's going to subject her to ridicule from the other students. You know, it's one thing what a same-sex couple decides how to raise their child in private as long as it's legal. It's one thing for that, but it's quite another thing when they bring those choices into the school setting, because it affects many, many other stakeholders. We've got kids, we've got students, we've got administrators, we have parents and teachers, all of whom have to be considered in this process. And so the second thought that these fine ladies had was, you know, not only could this hurt this little child, but it's going to confuse the other children mightily. Can you only imagine the reaction of a couple of dozen 6-year-olds when they learn that Sally all of a sudden is Johnny to that information? They may think this is a cruel game of opposite day, where whenever they feel like it, they can say they're the opposite gender of who they really are. And are we going to have little girls running into boys' restrooms and little boys running into girls' restrooms? I mean, these are true, real issues that these administrators and educators and bus drivers and teachers are having to deal with. And so they were concerned. No forewarning. You know, the way that these parents would learn about this transgender issue in a 6-year-old setting, it's when they pick up their young child in the car line. That's not a way to run a school. And so when these fine women stood up and said, not only as a matter of faith do we have concerns about what's about to happen here, but we're worried about the well-being not only of this student, but all the other students, as well as the parents not having their authority honored. And so we just say no. We're not comfortable with calling this little girl a boy in a 6-year-old grade school class. The school administrator, the school owner, they got angry. Their opinion was it's their way or the highway. And so they fired, wrongfully I might add, these two fine young women and told them that they would no longer have a job, no longer have a livelihood, no longer to be able to take care of their children because they took a stand against this issue. This isn't a problem that's just limited to Katy, Texas. This is a problem that can happen to every parent of a child in a school setting, whether it's public or private, in every state of our fine nation. And so it's time to take a stand and to push back and to say, you know what? We're not going to allow little girls to be humiliated and attacked in a school setting simply because their gay parents declare suddenly that they're a little boy.
First off, I just want to say to thank everyone for being here. And I want everyone to know that I took a stance, first off, because of my beliefs. I trust God. And secondly, I stood up for the protection of all the children, not just the one. I felt it was my obligation, after 26 years doing this, that I had to stand up for this child and to protect her at all costs. And if it took my job, I was fine with that.
Thank you, Madeline. Thank you very much. Akeisha? Feel free to say it, whatever's on your heart. And you don't have to if you don't want to.
Hi, everyone. I'm Akeisha White. I'm a little nervous. I just want to stand up for my rights also. And what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Thank you. Thank you, Akeisha.
You know, I want to be clear that this is not about being mean to potentially transgender children. You know, we've all heard of the high suicide rates with LGBT kids or children struggling with gender issues. This is about actually protecting those children and standing up for them, defending them from being ridiculed and anything that could happen with that from taking place. So I just want to assert that what our clients have done was to protect them from any of those possible mental health issues that could arise. And lastly, you know, the parents entrusted our clients in the Children's Lighthouse with the health, welfare, and safety of these children. They believed that they would be taking care of them, and I think, of course, with the recent defeat of the HERO ordinance, we could very positively say they would have wanted to have known what was going on, and the Children's Lighthouse didn't want to do that. And so we want to say that we are proud and thankful that they had come forward and were willing to speak up. You know, we'd be blindfolding ourselves if we believed this was an isolated incident. But rather, this was the first where someone's boldly come forward. You know, we want to say that there's an agenda going on right now in this country, and that agenda has no concern with the health or welfare of children or the moral consciences of the religious beliefs of others. It's concerned with one thing, and that's to change fundamentally the fabric of our culture.